Hello, Jake, all the way in Costa Rica.
Hola, so good to
Hola.
see you.
Yeah, it's so lovely. I'm so jealous. I'm sitting here in a polo neck jersey and you sitting in a nice t-shirt and it looks really sunny out there.
Yeah, this is my business formal attire.
Oh, I like it a lot. That's exactly what it should be like as a kids coach. So do you have no shoes on at the moment?
I actually only wear shoes to play football or soccer is the
Wonderful,
only time I
wonderful.
put shoes on.
Wow. So you spend a lot of time on the beach.
A lot of time on the beach and just actually got comfortable living barefoot, and I'm in an environment where that's
I
acceptable.
love that.
Actually, I have a friend visiting and we got to go to a steakhouse last night and I get to go barefoot. And I'm like, where else in the world can I go have a steak
Exactly.
barefoot?
And that's what I love. Since the day we met, is that you are really connected to the earth. You're really connected to your environment. And that's what makes you such a great kids' life coach. And so I'm really excited to speak with you today in today's Kids Life Coach in the Spotlight interview. And I know you're living in a really exotic place, but there's also something special about your coaching because at some stage you also integrated surfing and I want to hear about all these things today. So let's just like launch straight in. What made you choose to become a kids life coach? Like, where did that come from?
As cliche as it sounds, I think it chose me more than I chose it.
Yes, I can relate to
Um,
that.
so I've my first of all, my connection with children 15 years ago, I started working as a lifeguard and swim instructor, and immediately just felt so connected to kids, you know, specifically the candor that they express,
Yeah,
their ability to,
refreshing.
yeah, oh my goodness. I used to sell medical equipment to doctors, and the
Oh my
people
God,
who would
that's
tell
such
me
a
one thing, yeah, and then go behind my back and do something else. And with a kid, it's never like that, right? What they say is what you get, and it's all there, it's all above board. And just the spirit, the love of life and the livingness and the joy that comes from being a child. I loved being around that. So I lost that for a period of time because I accepted this belief that it was time for me to grow up and to
be
go and
responsible.
be
Yeah.
responsible and get a real
Yeah,
job,
proper job.
And so I did that, and it was a great learning experience. And I ultimately arrived at a place where I was in a good amount of pain, and I recognized that I was responsible for my own experience of suffering.
Wow.
And so I would say the event that really propelled me into doing what I'm doing today and being where we are here and now is starting working with a coach myself. And she said something to me
Brilliant.
very early on. She said, Jake, you have everything you need within you right now for the rest of your life. You have everything you need within you. And over, the months, and I mean, we've now been working together for almost 4 years, um, just learning these tools. And as I'm learning these tools, I'm like, this stuff is so simple. You don't need to go to college. You don't need a PhD. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand how our brain and bodies work and how we can access tools that really help us feel good and help us show up in the way that we want to show up. And one of the thoughts I had is, where was this when I was a kid? Where was this at
Yeah.
8 years old or 10 years old or 12 years old? And, I have an incredible life. I had an incredible childhood, and there was always an underlying anxiety that was present forever.
Mm.
And, that underlying anxiety eventually led me to a path of using drugs and alcohol to self-soothe. And so it was through this whole untangling process of, letting those habits go and receiving these tools from my coach. It was like, well, I could have done this 20 years ago and it would have shifted so many things. And
Would
so
have, could have, should have. Hey?
hmm well, and now I get to work with kids. I listened to a man the other day talk about how it's a privilege to get to do what you love. And so I'm very aware that I'm in a state of extreme privilege getting to work with kids and teach them stuff that, you know, I still practice. Like I have my tools and ingredients actually on the mirror of my bathroom. So every morning I'm brushing my teeth, and every night I'm brushing my teeth. I'm sitting there and looking at them, right? And I tell that to the kids that I coach. I'm like, I'm still practicing and learning the same stuff, right? It
All a
doesn't
work in
stop.
progress. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Do you know, Jake, just listening to you speak, what I really love is that you've taken your personal experiences and you've leveraged that to position yourself as this really powerful coach for children who speaks from a sense of knowing. And you spoke about your own suffering. And there are many children today who are suffering and they are in toxic environments. And I think you have a really special gift that you can pass on to them on to alleviate that unnecessary suffering, because there are tools and strategies that we can give children very quickly and very easily. And they're so malleable, right? They learn so quick. Oh my
mhm,
word.
mhm,
So, I mean, you have the actual ingredients that no one can give you. And you spoke about having a college degree. It's not necessary. You've got the passion
mhm,
and you had the previous personal experience. Those are the two ingredients. Like Kids Life Studio has given you the theory, the structure, the system, but you've put everything into play. So tell us a little bit about how Kids Life Studio helped you to take your experiences and your professional and personal experience and shift it into the career that you're choosing now.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. It's actually funny. I was sharing with my friend this morning. So I went through the Kids Life Studio program, I believe in May of 2021 was when I started. However,
How long ago?
uh, I was able to look back at my phone and see a snapshot that I took in 2019. And I think I sent this to you at one point, that in 2019, I took a snapshot of your website. But I
No.
hadn't at that point, I was still very involved in this old story. And so it kind of slipped away from me. But
Amazing.
as
You planted the seed, right?
and as the universe does, it kind of smacked me in the face again. And hey,
You
I'm
listen,
trying to do,
Jake.
yeah, exactly. This is for you, dude. So I actually tell people all the time, and I genuinely mean this. The training that I went through at Kids Life Studio is the most holistic, in-depth, supportive training that I've ever experienced. And specifically, like going from, and I remember speaking to you the first time because I was considering other programs. And, there was one program that said, hey, in 60 days, you could be a kids life coach with your own business. And there was a big part of me that's like, oh, yeah, like, great, 60 days, I can go do that. Right. And it was kind of the part of me that wants the reward right now. And I remember speaking to you and being a little frightened actually of like, wow, this person is no BS. They know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're going to challenge me in a way that I actually don't really want to be challenged, but I know it'll be good for me. And so the training and the experience that I had going through the program was phenomenal. From learning the theory and really getting a chance to sit with these different backgrounds in psychology, which I had picked on. I'd read some books here and there, but it was
Yes.
it was it was a really well done packaged experience, and then actually getting to see how to put that into practice. You even mentioned that in our group text this morning, how there's so many books that talk about the problems but they don't offer the solution. And here you are, you created a program, you presented the theory, you offered the solution, and honestly, like, you do it at a tremendous value. I tell people all the time, what you offer in this program is incredible value. And what you ask for is not like you're not gouging us. You're not trying to, get us into your system and keep us there. You're really giving us the support. And sometimes I'll go into my archives where you've so carefully put all of these resources for the kids that I coach, and even getting to show up to the professional development, like the entire experience. It wasn't just an individual learning experience. It's actually a community,
It's a
right? Of Mhm.
collaboration, isn't it? Yeah.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. And so I really value that, and just am extremely inspired by what you have put into this entire program.
Gosh, thank you, Jake. I think I might be blushing a little bit.
Mm,
So, I mean, when I started the coaching program myself in 2003, I didn't have a vision back then of working with people like you in Costa Rica and around the world. But what I did know was that I wanted to work ethically. And for me, it was really important to do that. And I wanted a sustainable solution, something that wasn't just like in a textbook and it wasn't applicable to the real world. So when you speak about the trainings being so comprehensive, I just took what it was that I needed and I put it into a training program to expedite
Mm,
your journey. And what I realized was when I started my business, and I'm sure you've experienced the same, is it was about my personal transformation. We cannot coach children and be a role model and a mentor without doing our own inner work. And
yeah.
so many people, they want to have a career supporting children, but they're not willing to do the work. And I love what you said. My favorite part of what you said was that I'm a no BS approach. And just like challenging all of us, me included, to step out of our predefined roles that we think we should be in and stepping out of that and showing children what possibilities are there for them. And yeah, so I think that's the powerful part. And I want to congratulate you because it is all about choice. The tagline at Kids Life Studio is where choices are made easy. And
Mm,
you made the choice to take the
mm,
step. You could have chosen the 60-day expedited fast track version. You didn't. And you're still
mm,
sitting here and you're still committed to improving yourself, learning, growing. So I suppose on that note, I'm really curious. You really touched on your personal experiences that you have brought to the table. And those are so important because they give you that authenticity that children are looking for. They're looking for a voice of reason in a world that is pretty full on at the moment. But what is your real passion, your areas of expertise where you really like working with young people? Speak to us about that.
mm. So first of all, I think the thing that I enjoy most about working with young people is reminding them that they have everything they need within them, right? Because I think when we're born, we know that. And I think we forget that as,
Intuitively, yes.
yeah. And so you use that word intuitively.
Yeah.
So a big part of what I love to do is reconnect and remind children of their own intuition and their own ability to create the life of their dreams, right? Even sitting here in Costa Rica, this is a result of me allowing myself and being supported by my coach to follow my intuition and to follow my heart, even when my outside world was like,
Yeah.
Jake, you're
Your
crazy. What are you doing?
your prefrontal cortex is going, no, no, no.
Danger, 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 danger. Um, so I think that is really for me, like reminding children, you have everything you need within you, right? You don't even really need me. I'm here as a support system,
Tour
and
guide, right?
and I'll be here as long as you want me to, as long as you need me to. And ultimately, my goal for you is to go and flourish and to bloom on your own, right? And
Yeah.
to go write your own story and be the director of that story and get to cast the characters that you want in that story.
Yeah, I mean, what a privilege for young people to have you as their coach, the barefoot coach. So tell us a little bit about some of the methods that you use, because I know that you're very much about nature-based solutions. You're very much
Mhm.
about being in touch with your environment. So can you speak us through how you do things that way? Because I know you coach online, but you also coach face to face. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I would say majority, probably 90% of my coaching is face to face. And so actually very similar, right? You and I jumped on calls and do grounding exercises. And I actually like to start my coaching sessions. I live in a place where nature is abundant, and I like to start my coaching sessions outside, and I allow the children to choose something in around them in nature that they want to connect to, whether it's the trees or the leaves on a tree, the sun, the rain, the dirt on the ground, a little pebble, a stone, something, right? Anything. Nature is such a beautiful way
Yeah.
that we can actually connect to our body. And also, from what I know from a spiritual science perspective, you and I talk about the book,
Yeah.
The Spiritual Child, right? Like
Yes.
what I took from that book is the number one thing we could do for children is support them in their relationship to a higher power,
Yeah.
whatever that is, God,
Your
spirit,
spirituality.
creator, universe, right?
Beautiful.
Whatever name that we put on that.
Yeah.
And so nature is low-hanging fruit because it's not as
Oh, I
scary
love that.
as
It is. It's low-hanging fruit, isn't it? Yeah.
because a lot, if I say God to someone, they might tense up. But if we're talking about a tree, they're like, oh yeah, I love trees, right? I love being outside, right? I would say 99.9% of human beings have some place in nature that they feel connected to, where they feel safe in. And so getting to use that to also as a way to meet them where they're at, right? You talked about us as coaches being able to do our own personal work, right? Our own
Mm.
personal development. And I know for me, when things get really tough and when I'm experiencing pain or challenge, going into nature is a calming place for me, is a grounding place for me.
Yes.
And so allowing kids to build their own practice around that, right? For me, I love being in the ocean. I love being in the water. That's like my number one, right? And everyone might be a little bit different, right? I work with students who love being in the mountains and they want to have their jackets on and boots and be in the cloudy cold mountains, right? Whatever works. But there's really something for everyone in nature.
And I also love the fact that you tailor make your coaching sessions according to the needs of each individual child. And are you doing group coaching at the moment?
So I actually am kicking off a group program in
Yeah.
January. I'm
Oh,
very
awesome.
excited. Yeah, and
Awesome.
it's kind of like a triple threat where we're gonna learn about our brain and bodies. We're gonna learn how to navigate the open ocean, and I'm actually also bringing in a dear friend who's a world champion martial artist who's going to teach self-defense skills.
Oh,
So
wow.
we're going to be focusing
Oh,
on
can I
the
join?
yeah, please. Please. Yeah, we had a summer camp kind of based on this back in August, and much of the feedback from parents is, what would you change or add to the program? They said, make it available for us.
Oh, well, that's the thing. We call ourselves kids life coaches, but actually we family coaches. We do use a whole
Mhm,
family approach, but it's a bottom-up approach. So we target the parents through the child, and that's
yeah.
usually the child that coaches the parents. When you speak about spirituality in children, children are so in tune and so in touch. And when the home life is not calibrated and there's that connection, that spiritual connection missing, we can tell as coaches. And children can very quickly tap into that. And when their parents see them doing that, there's a magical synergy that happens. So I think
Mhm,
that's a great idea, having family workshops and getting parents to tap into their inner child.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so Jake, you've got a lot of new things up your sleeve, and I know that you're the kind of person who's a creative and you're constantly innovating, but what is your mission and your vision for children?
Mm. You know, my mission is to empower children to remember that they have everything that they need within them. It's
Yeah.
very simple. It's a very simple truth that I learned,
You're
and it's a very
amplifying that message. Yeah.
you have everything you need, right? And everything you need you already have, right? Like it's it becomes so powerful to remember that mantra. And my vision is that children, when given the permission to remember this information, get to go and, as you taught us, right, be the leaders of their own lives
Yes.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
create. Because when we do this, right, then we ultimately get to a place where we want to help others, we want to be of service, right? We're kind of able to remove ourselves from the predominant story that's present in much of our culture today, which there's a lot of fear base and there's a lot of
Me first.
manipulation,
Yeah.
me first, and a lot of reaching outside to fill the inside
Yeah.
instead of
Sorry to interrupt, but just
no,
circling
please.
back to when you started the interview, you spoke about your old career where you were in the
Mhm,
medical field and there was a lot of backstabbing and things going on. And that's exactly what it is, right?
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. And so, I think there's an idea, there's a story we talk about, right? We often like to quote, as human beings, we like to quote Charles Darwin, and he says community, survival of the fittest, right? And that was his research. But
Yeah.
what people forget is there's a second part of his research that wasn't as widely put out, and it says
Yes.
survival of the fittest when in community. When community is thriving, then
Oh,
the fittest survive. And we lost that piece about community. And
community.
from
Yeah.
the point we're little kids, right? We're okay, you're 6, you hang out with 6-year-olds, you're 7, you hang out with 7-year-olds, right? And constantly thinking about, okay, now you're going to 4th grade and 5th grade. And it's already getting into that trap of I got to go reach, run, reach, and really forgetting the essence of human beings. And we need 2 things as human beings. We need to be connected to other human beings, and we need the
Correct.
permission to express ourselves authentically. And so
Correct.
when we're given the space to do that and allowed to connect to community, then magic happens, right? Like the call we had a couple of weeks ago with the Cottywomple, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
that is the magic of bringing a group of people together who have been given the permission to be themselves and have an opportunity to be connected to a community of open-hearted, like-minded individuals. And that it's so simple,
It,
right? It's
it
so
is, but it's
simple.
so difficult though, because there are so many external influences that are forcing people to be insular and to sit on their mobile phones. I travel quite a lot, so I see children around the world, and my biggest eye opener is I like to catch a train or public transport at peak hour when kids are going to school, so I can see what they're doing because I want to see how I want to see how they walk into school, what they're doing with each other. And in most westernized countries, I see young people sitting in the train or on the buses on their mobile phones, not communicating. When they do, they show each other a photograph or a video, and then they have a good giggle, and then they go back
Right.
in within. And what I've noticed in countries where children do not have access to that technology, there is more playfulness and more laughing. There's kicking of a ball as they're walking to school in the dust with no shoes on. And I ask myself, which child is happier? Is it the child who is living in abject poverty and is probably going to go to a classroom with 100 children sitting there? Or is it the child who's going to the top private school who has the best mobile phone, the best trainers that they're wearing, and they have all the opportunity? Like, it's just such a paradox for me, what true happiness is. And I think we've lost that essence because of this external influence and this voice that keeps coming through, and it's diluting that beautiful innocence and that intuition that every child has. I went to a
Mhm.
museum in Athens, and there were children in this museum that I was like so fascinated by the artifacts, and they were sitting there on their phones in a row,
Mm,
shoulder to shoulder, with all these beautiful historical artifacts. And we've lost
mm,
that essence. And I think coaching brings children back to themselves. We just remind them, we give them a
mm,
gentle nudge, nothing invasive, just a gentle nudge. Look, there's more to this, there's more to life. Look, it's
mm,
there for you. And I think you're doing such a fabulous job of that. And so, Jake, just in closing, if you had to choose one message to give to kids, what would it be? I know it's hard,
mm,
but maybe just one message, maybe to your inner child, Jake, like something that you
mm,
may have wanted to know.
mm. Listen to the guidance of your heart.
Oh,
And if that feels challenging, or if that feels uncomfortable, or if that feels impossible, close your eyes for a couple seconds and ask a question. It could be as simple as, should I have a glass of water or should I have a soda? Right. And build a relationship with your heart, and build a relationship to that, because I believe that much of our intuition, much of our inner wisdom stems from the knowledge stored in our heart. And so
yeah.
as we're able to build that relationship, um, magic happens around us.
Oh, I'm so excited for you, Jake. You just come with such wonderful wisdom. And, I know that our training has given you the theory and the system and the foundation, but it's what you bring to the table. It's your absolute authenticity and integrity with the way you show up. And it's about us being good role models, secret parents, as I call it,
Yeah.
but being secret parents to children, and just us gently guiding them and their parents, because parents also have a hard rap.
Yeah.
They're also up with a lot of pressure and a lot of external influence that parents never had 30 years
Totally.
ago. So yeah, I just want to wish you all the best, Jake.
Thank you.
You onto something good in Costa Rica. I'm definitely going to come for a visit.
Please do.
Definitely.
Please do.
That's a promise. So yeah, I look forward to that. But in the interim, keep us up to date with all the exciting events, and I'm sure people will be able to find your details in the comments of this video. Yeah, and just like if I was there, I'd give you a big zeal hug.
Ah,
Probably also hug a tree, by the way. I am a tree hugger.
me too.
It's my little secret thing I love to do because I live in the
Mm,
forest in England.
mm,
It's called the New Forest, and there's big, beautiful trees. And sometimes I'll be walking in the forest and I'll see this tree and I'm like, that one needs a hug.
mm.
And
If
yeah, yeah.
if I could just close on one thing about trees, I like to nerd out on nature
Go
sometimes.
for it.
We can look at the biggest tree, right? The biggest oak tree, and it's, 50 feet tall and it's got a huge, big trunk, right? And something that I remind myself is never in a day of that tree's life did it try and rush. Never in that tree's life did it try to be something that it was not. And look what happened over time,
Yeah.
over the daily repetition
Gosh.
of reaching for the light and
Yeah.
receiving water, right? And then it's this solid tree, right? And so I think in
Oh,
this
yeah.
world where childhood is being lost and we're trying to run, to get to look at something as a tree and be like, that is the wisdom of nature right there. And I am exactly where I need to be. And I'm going at the exact pace that I'm supposed to be going at.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful, Jake. Oh my God, what a privilege to speak with you. And I
Thank
look
you.
forward to many more conversations like this, but I'm wishing you all the best. Um, and yeah, I want to hear like what it is you're going to be doing, all the exciting.
Ah,
So take
we'll
good
catch
care of
up soon.
yourself, Jake.
Thank you. Good to talk.